an agency of United Nations. That even brings more complexity to the post, because when the post is busy delivering its mandate, it is also delivering very directly global mandate to make sure that we can reach and meet the millennium goals. So for the post office, it becomes very exciting because we work towards these goals through smart partnerships such as this one.
This partnership will become useful not only to the two organizations but to the communities in rural areas, as they will now not have to travel long distances to pay their premiums. And finally, Botswana Gambling Authority is currently holding a public hearing for bookmaker and totalizator applications as it prepares to award betting licenses. A bookmaker takes bets on gambling, while a totalizator is a gambling device. The public hearing gives the public and other parties an opportunity to raise any issue about the companies bidding for the licenses. 16 companies are representing their cases at the event, which ends tomorrow. The companies which present their application to the Gambling Authority Board and the public are then asked a series of questions to validate their applications. In a recap of leading stories, District Council dispatches a team to demolish illegal dams and around that Okavango Delta, and Botswana Gambling Authority readies to award betting licenses.
YaronaFM News.
The real story.
The YaronaFM Weather Report is brought to you by Jamal Trading Company, your number one supplier in building material and hardware.
And current temperatures across the country: Mongin Kasana 31 degrees Celsius, Silbepico 27, and lastly Francistown in the capital city Gaborone 26. Kirsten YaronaFM bulletin this afternoon at 4.
The YaronaFM Weather Report was brought to you by Jamal Trading Company, your number one supplier in building material and hardware.
Visit Jamal Trading Company for all your building material and hardware needs. Call 3922-2900 or email jamalsales@gmail.com for a free quotation. Jamal Trading Company, your number one supplier in building material and hardware.
The YaronaFM Daily Sports Update.
Hey, good afternoon. This is your daily sports update. Once again, day 13 of the Olympics brings us more action from Botswana's athletics team as Tshepiso Masalela advanced to the semi-finals of the men's 800 meters. Matumo Nkape, Tshepiso Masalela and Kitobogile Hangwira were the athletes in action for the men's 800 meters this afternoon. Nkape, ranked 38th in the world, started in Heat 1 in a lane alongside number 2 ranked Marco Androp of Canada. And he finished 6th in a time of 1:46.99 seconds, missing out on automatic qualification for the semi-finals. Botswana's top 800 meter star, Masalela, ranked 8th in the world, started in Heat 2 in lane 2 and qualified for the semi after finishing 3rd. While Hangwira, ranked 43rd, started in Heat 6 in lane 5, finishing 7th with a time of 1:46.46 seconds. Hangwira and Nkape still have a second chance at the semi-finals as they run in the repechage race tomorrow. Hangwira will run in Heat 1 while Nkape is set for Heat 2. That race is expected to take place at 12 exactly in the afternoon, Central African time. Meanwhile, Botswana will be all eyes on their television screens at 8:10 p.m. Botswana's Golden Boy taking on the men's 200-meter semi-finals. I encourage you to check out that action. We will give you an update at 4 p.m. on the climax about exactly what you can look forward to. That's it from the Daily Sports Desk. My name is LB. I hope you're having a good afternoon wherever you are. This is the second hour of The Good Life with Lucy.
The YaronaFM Daily Sports Update.
Like we always do with this time.
Welcome to the good life.
I go for mine. I get to shine.
Welcome to the good life. The good life. The good life.
The Good Life with Luke, Monday to Friday, 12 to 3 p.m.
Now throw your hands up.
Yeah, we're looking for some new music. Over.
If you want your music to be part of the YaronaFM playlist, email music@yaronafm.co.bw for consideration. Live the music.
And you know how I do it each and every day after the 1 p.m. news bulletin. We jump into something blue, something new, never something old or something bored. Today the name of the song is Mosadi Yo, and it's by MMP Family. I remember sometime last year they were so busy, booked and busy. Guys, you are the phase for the good life. Please come to the studio. We would like to talk to you. But listen, Luther, we're really trying. But we're booked and busy. We have new projects coming through. And I'm happy that we are actually witnessing the amazing project they've been working on. Just give it a hear and hit me up on +26739111066 to let me know how you feel about it. And if you mess with it so much, why not later on from 3 to 6 p.m. The climax will be giving you the same dose of the same track. And no cap by the only cat you should be addicted to will be coming through from 7 to 10 p.m. still giving you the same dose of the same track.
New music. Here first, YaronaFM.
Later on, right all like a leboti, ka polish am chini wam sena yepe koti. Are papa bona fela kampata, la ska ho na bona yepeta. Usario, okile ya magaza. Usario, okile ya magaza. Abatam tire la matata, abatam tire la matata, abatam tire la matata, abatam tire la matata. Ine ilitsatile le ngwana ke na le ngwanyana o mongwana ono wa mfana o mongwana pekiswa ke go ja mpole mponyana ngwanyana a ntirela mathata a thusitse modumo a bua piritsaka fa ke boa ba ntuile dibiri ke fitlela ba dule mfana mojela go mokwata usari yo okile ya magaza usari yo okile ya magaza abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata ujabana unetse motopelo go yotle o moduela rente ka re kgweditse tsotlhe kante ka o itse ke mosadi wa tsotsi ebile ka fa o bele ta o botsetse makaba ya kala ka kgetsa ke mmotsa mona yo ke mang a re ke best go botlhoko ja go jela ke bongwana sesi re bere ka go lona donkuji usario wata okile ya magaza usario yanda okile ya magaza abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata usario okile ya magaza usario okile ya magaza abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata abatam tire la matata.
YaronaFM.
It's giving bounce. Lift the music.
And you...
This is Why Vote Women Candidate Profiles, a deeper look at the 2024 BW elections women candidates. Why Vote 2024 is brought to you by YaronaFM in partnership with YTV.
And you are still tuned into The Good Life on YaronaFM with myself, Lutle, aka your ideal butterfly, aka when am I taking to the top all the way to 3 p.m. But right now, we're jumping right into Why Vote. I think this is one of my exciting parts of the day. Every single time I look forward, since this week, hey, when I look forward to work, I'm thinking, why vote? And today, we're going to be discussing issues affecting women, from gender-based violence, job opportunities in management positions in both public and private sector, and increasing women representation at parliament and council levels.
And to discuss these topics, we have in studio Umbrella for Democratic Change Women Representative Maipelo Muputing, Botswana Democratic Party Women Representative Lilian Moremi, and Botswana Congress Party Women Representative Julia Chapete.
Yes, and now to jumpstart in the conversation, ladies, welcome to The Good Life on YaronaFM. I'm super excited and looking forward to hear a lot and learn a lot from you ladies. But maybe let's also establish what the purpose of the Women League is and political party structures.
Anyone can take it? Yeah, you can start, Macha.
No, I can we have the question again? I was noting something here.
Okay, the purpose of women leagues in political party structures.
The whole idea behind women's leagues is to ensure that the voice of the woman is heard within the party. So we have women's leagues in various structures so that we can collectively bargain, if we could call it, collective bargaining of women within the political party. I think that would just summarize the role of the women's league.
Yes.
I just to add on to what my colleague has just said, definitely there's a transition of leadership from the older generation to the newer generation, so it's to facilitate for that intergenerational dialogue as well, which is quite important when we are looking at the new leadership.
The importance of having a women's league structure in political organization. I would say it's, I always stress this very important fact, as women, when we say we want to sit on the same table as our male counterparts, we're not saying that we are fighting for space with them, but we are bringing a feminine perspective into the whole conversation and discussion. So women's league, they need to come together and be on the same space as men, and we're able to actually influence and affect policies from a feminine perspective.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think we'll go into the first question. The first question that I've got is there a need for affirmative action initiatives for women to occupy key positions in government and the private sector?
Absolutely, there is need for affirmative action. Going into politics, you need to be financially well off. And when we look at the female candidates, most of the time, we are coming from a professional background as compared to our male counterparts who are coming from a business background. Therefore, in terms of being intentional about ensuring that women make it to parliament or they remain in seats of influence, there needs to be that intentional affirmative action to say, look, we want to equally encourage women. Let's have 50% in parliament, ensuring that indeed women are able to receive the necessary funding or the necessary support, the necessary mentorship, the necessary capacity building to ensure that they actually do make it in parliament.
Mama Putin, what's your take on that one?
Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a detour before I get to answering the question.
Okay.
I've been made to believe YaronaFM is for a youth audience predominantly.
Yes.
And coming here, we had all these questions. We've prepared, we're well and ready, I'm sure. But I really want to speak to the heart of the young people in this country. Having said that, there's undeniably an awakening happening the world over on the importance of women to rise to leadership positions. I love how John Maxwell said it. He says, leadership is influence. As a young person in this country, how do you see yourself influencing the society that you live in? What do you want to be remembered for as a young person? What legacy are you going to leave? And I always say this in different platforms where I go and speak. I say, for women's leadership to be effective, it has got to come from a place of service. That is what I ascribe to. That is the philosophy that I live by. So, I just want to encourage young people out there that it is good to have quotas. I'm getting there. I know, I probably have a minute. I always say, never give you must always give a strict amount of time to a politician. But having said that, am I with the school of thought, affirmative action? Well and good to have affirmative action. I'm not sure I ascribe to that, in all honesty. Yes, we certainly need more political will to drive the agenda or give more attention towards helping women rise to positions of influence. But I believe that there are ways in which that can be done. And as we continue this conversation, you'll be able to kind of, I'll let you into my thought process, and then you'll understand why I'm not really saying I am for or against affirmative action. Look, this is about us coming here to say to you, the young people, what do you want from us? You must give us the mandate. Lots of times as politicians, we come in, we give you these promises, but let's have a conversation, let's have dialogue. I am here saying, how do you want me to serve you? How do you want me to come and speak on your behalf? As a young woman, yes, but as a Motswana in general.
But I beg to differ there, especially as a young person, because for starters, I feel like I need to hear what made you stand up and confident enough to say you can represent me. If now you want to hear what I want from you, some of the needs that I have or I need, I'm not going to realize them until I hear you say, listen, I've picked this as a need mo lahatsing, and because when you ask us what we want, we are talking wants. We're not going to remember the needs. But as somebody who I'm thinking a lot of things came into consideration before you took that decision, which are more needs than wants. So I would like you to tell me, and when am I tuned in, what exactly would you offer, so that if I am to add something or ask you to subtract something, I know where a conversation foundation.
Just to chip into that, look, I think politics is a co-creation process.
Yes.
Co-creation means, we come up with solutions that are based on what is actually on the ground. And a better way to actually articulate that is to be able to hear it from the horse's mouth, so that we are able to tailor-make the solutions that are needed really on the ground. I mean, we do have mananeo on the ground, and we see some of them maybe needing a lot of improvement. And some people have been saying, but if mananeo had been taken into account, having set young people down and saying, how would you want to be assisted, perhaps maybe Manana Warona would be at a better level. So I think I absolutely agree with you to say it's a co-creative process.
Absolutely. And as we continue the conversation, you'll be able to dive into Maipelo's thought process. But like what my colleague is saying, Miss Lydia. Lillian. Oh, I'm so sorry, Emma. Like what Lillian is saying, it's a two-way street. And oftentimes I have seen that is the problem. Therein lies the problem, where a lot of times as politicians, this is what we want, this is what we're going to offer, this is what we're giving you. But when we say we are your servants, because that is really what public service is about. It's about serving the people. Like what my beautiful colleague Lillian just said. Ke process e batlang gore rotlhe Rile banana, rile baholo. She spoke about intergenerational. I love that, because as the youth, we know what we want. Yes, we do know what we want, but we also need the wisdom of age to come together with us and say, this is where we failed, and this is how now we feel the both generations can come together and come up with something that is not just the youth. Yes, we are youth voices, but we are saying we are building a legacy for the young people, and so on and so forth.
Very true.
The original question, which
yes,
was, is there a need for affirmative action? And my answer to that is affirmative action. The word or the term itself gets a bad rap. Because it gives the impression that you want to lower standards. You want to pass a person who would otherwise not qualify to get to where you want them to be. And so it has, by and large, not been received well. So from that perspective, do we want women to have affirmative action? The answer to that, if that is the definition of affirmative action that we are looking at, is no. However, there is a need to have special programs and special considerations for women, because we recognize that the woman is different. The path of the woman in our society is different from other demographics. And look at it, especially in politics. Look at other sectors of the economy. Look at finance, the financial sector. There are women there who are leaders. There are women who are leaders across. And but it's different when it comes to politics. So it is not because women don't have the capacity to get there. The circumstances, the hurdles that stand before them have to be removed. So yes, in the sense of removing the obstacles that stand in front of the women for them to be able to get to positions in politics. Yes, there is need for affirmative action.
And the reason I'm asking this is that recently there was a newspaper article that showed the number of women who, percentage-wise, which I think was less than 2%, for those who contested for BDP primary elections. And if you look at across, even women represent those who will be vying for parliamentary seats across all political parties, it is less than 3%.
Yeah, it's very, very low.
In the BDP currently we have 6 women who
we
are
also
going
have 6.
for
how many constituencies? Which is 61.
Exactly.
61.
BCP 6 and then UDC 3. And my issue is that, look, since 1966, we've been having for the longest time conversation around how do we support women to go into parliament, and maybe we need to try something different. And this is why I'm saying maybe quotas could come into the play. Because the other time I'm a caretaker, and the first thing that I do, I have to think of the person that I'm a caretaker towards. Prepare. By the time it gets an fielding, get 12 o'clock. Ren house or Hawirang, why just at fielding. So these are the dynamics that sometimes we also practically to what's on the ground.
And I just want to chip into what she's saying regarding affirmative action and why I don't have a concrete answer for it. Does affirmative action work? But I really like what my colleague Julia just said. The obstacles, help ease the burden through removing some of the obstacles. Not so much just taking women positioning, and then sometimes that's also setting them up for failure. And I'm saying this because for many years I was in South Africa and I was behind the scenes working with a lot of women in the ANC, and not just the Women's League, but they're also in cabinet. And what they observed as well is because banalidi quota we need, say, 30% women representation, Limpopo, Gauteng, and so on and so forth. And it's like they were just scrambling for basadi hala gore ba tsene because of the quota system, but it's not so much quality, so not that hela ki dumalana le Julia gore what actually needs to happen is to help ease the burden so that different women quality she's a caretaker. I speak this all the time in different platforms. As a woman, the first thing you think about is your family, your children, your this, your that. So by the time some of them are married, okay, others are not. But Rona, we have to think about all of these things. Oh my goodness, I'm here, remote NEC meeting, school fees, all kinds of things. She's young, she's taking care of the mother, but that's her first thought, even before running. It's not easy. So what as the different parties what we propose. But yes.
Just to add on to that, what these two yeah, just quickly. To say by nature, women we are very systematic, we are methodical in what we do. One, they have already said we put family first. The first thing that you consider is everybody else before you consider yourself. So even if you have ambitions to go into politics, your ambitions, your wants, your needs are going to take the back seat while you push what needs to be done, right? So you need, when you are talking about affirmative actions, action for women, you need to be considerate of these obstacles that it is in the nature of women. We're going to analyze for return on investment. If I do this, what's the return on the investment that I'll do for this? So in politics, the return on investment for women is relatively low. So that is why in corporate in the corporate sector, you will push for it to get there because the return is going to be commensurate with the amount of effort that you put in. In politics, not so much.
So how often have you tried your luck to represent people of your constituency?
No, this is my first. For me, it's the first time that I'm running.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think the two, you look quite younger, and probably you'll be appealing to the youth vote from where you come from. What are the hurdles for any young Motswana who wants to go and contest, a young lady who wants to contest for a political seat? What challenges have you encountered so far?
Direna, you want to take it first?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, first and foremost, of course, it was a funding issue. You know, politics is expensive. I mean, hey, we got the airtime, we got the jobs, supporting the team, logistics, we got the petrol and all sorts of things. So really politics is a challenge, and this is why earlier on I was saying, you know, both rather financially secured as compared to women. Hence, you know, sometimes it's easier. That's why we are seeing a lot of men in politics. But above all, as well, is just understanding, having been mentored, you know, having been paired with a seasoned politician to really prepare me for this journey. You know, for me, this time around was about challenging the status quo, because we've never had a woman MP in Mogoditane, and I really wanted to inspire Bomme gore nyale rona, we should be counted at the table of decision making. And so this journey, it was a challenge because, you know, a new kid on the block, having to understand the systems and the processes. But I must say that I'm very, very grateful to the entire branch community, my BDP, Mogoditane East constituency, for having embraced me and said, you know what, we believe in you, you can do this, and together as a team we can achieve that opportunity to get in the Metro Parliament.
Okay.
You know, we have reached a very serious and sobering period in our nation. Haribuakadi had a lead obstacle. Let me paint a picture for you, the team that I represent. It is mainly a group of young people, most of them educated, unemployed, very, very smart, very driven. They have brilliant minds. When we come together, activity. Obstacle number one, like Direna is saying, resources. So I lead a team where depression is like the rule of the day because of unemployment. Gore, forget sitting down, trying to come up with an activity to do more constituency. What is going to be the next meal for tomorrow? I'm talking graduates. I'm talking batho ba ileng gore hela bana le potential e ntsi mo ileng gore. So number one, resources are the major obstacles that stop a lot of young people from actually running. You know, but I needed to highlight that where we are as a country, depression seems to be ruling, because there's like a mismatch between what we have as a country, the potential that we've got a vast amount of natural resources. But the greatest resource that we have as a country is human resources. That's the greatest asset that we have. Can you even think of running for office? Ole monana, o sa itse le ha ile gore ha ke tswa go neha ke a go jaeng. How am I even going to get to that classroom go tla go discuss tsone di issues tseo? But I'll take it. Ke tla ema gone ho.
I understand you are paving a way for other women, and especially younger ones, to look up to you. When at this journey, why are you embarking on it?
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to chip in on appealing to the young people. I would say, I figure I fancy myself also appealing to to the young people.
Yes, yes.
Because look at it this way. I am old enough to have the benefit of experience of having been around this planet for a bit of time, right? I have quite a bit to share with the youth. But I'm young enough to be able to understand what the issues are. I'm young enough to interact with the youth. And as a matter of fact, I work with the youth. I have worked with the youth for quite a bit of time. And coming to the question of my motivation, it is the youth who motivated me. I'm a lecturer. I have lectured in different institutions in this country. And I've come across young people. And one of the things that really, really touches me is when you meet a student who was a brilliant student in your class, you meet them 5-10 years later, and you can't even recognize them. Hey, ma'am, how are you? It takes you a while to recognize. Right? So those are some of the things that have really prompted me, that have motivated me to come forward and say, when my kids tomorrow ask me, what did you do? I should be able to give them an answer. And this is what I'm doing, so that tomorrow I'll have an answer for them. So to all the youth, to all the young people that I have come across and that I have seen, this is my answer to their plight. I understand what you're going through, and I would like to see you come out of it.
And speaking of that, you can engage with us in this conversation on +267 39 11066. Send through your WhatsApp voice note, a WhatsApp text, or call right here on the show, and our guests will be delighted to actually give you more insights regarding whatever you'd like them to touch on. And while you're at it, you spoke a lot about problems, hinders of women mo Botswana, and I wanted you to understand, or rather clarify this one for me. Women are operating in informal sectors and they're opposed to harsh weather conditions, right? What is your take on climate change and measures that your party intends to put in place to mitigate against these effects? Because I think a lot of times when we are talking harsh weather condition affecting basadi baba iperekang rakantse baba mo renkeng baba mo stationing, so now we bring forth dikuku dikulara go tsengwe dikuku. We're not thinking far. Even with mananeo put in place, we always still see the initiatives that are put forth failing to still mitigate the problems that are put on the table that these women are actually facing. So what are we looking at when we talk solutions from all these parties?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, efforts have been made, of course, through the BDP government. Reflecting back on the State of the Nation address, where our president has highlighted on the, our efforts towards smart agriculture as a way to really try and ensure that we are able to generate our own food supplies as Botswana. The issues of going green technology, capacity building around the agenda of smart agriculture. Of course, we are seeing how the tertiary institutions are also partnering with private sector as a way to come up with research work or identify products that are going to really, address this issue. We are seeing institutions being able to, come up with products such as biodiesel. We are able to see how mananeo such as Botuolo Toto, they're advocating for drought-resistant seedlings and livestock as well that can survive the harsh weather conditions. So I think these are just some of our efforts that we are putting in place. But it's for as a nation we are aware, or we are at least doing something about climate change as a way that we are even alluding to it in the State of the Nation address, and through the Ministry of Agriculture, efforts of course being made.
Yes, ma'am. Take us through your solutions.
Sorry. It's can I a bit of a. Good, we're also serious here. This is a youth audience.
I mean,
and I just came.
But these are issues that you know where they affect young people.
Yeah,
especially
and
those
I know.
who
No,
are
I'm just
unemployed. Yeah, you'll
I'm
find
just
them
breaking
with
the
tables.
ice.
Yes.
But yes, to be very honest, we advocate for climate change, obviously, as the umbrella for democratic change. We are about to launch our manifesto on Saturday, and it will be more detailed. Coming here, I did not highlight policy Yarona or what we have entailed got climate change, because to be very honest, I'm going to be very controversial. Hey, I hope there are no climate change activists outside, but I just thought, my goodness, as Motswana, I want to talk about bread and butter issues, and climate change. I know it affects the world over. But Harlin as Botswana thought that, to be very, very honest, I wanted to discuss issue of unemployment, what we are proposing, and just the climate change activists but climate change but I'm going to deal with the more bread and butter and hunger issues.
I think that was our next issue, the next question that we're going to get into. Yes.
No, so, but just to answer your question, we do take issues of climate change very seriously. The world is going green. Europe and all of those other places that are way ahead of us. But systems must be put in place for us to even move towards self-sufficiency. Climate well, that's contained more in detail in the manifesto Warona. Thank you.
Emma, Rona, at BCP, what we have decided to do.
We have a caller coming through. Caller, hello. Caller. Oh, unfortunately, we've lost our caller.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ronako BCP, we have taken a holistic approach. We have not necessarily isolated women issues and separated them from the issues of the country as they are, right? And so when we came up with our manifesto, it's a very comprehensive document that details every demographic of this country, how we plan to address the issues that they face. And with regards to women and climate change, we've looked at the sustainable development goals. Those are some of the documents that we were looking at when we came up with our manifesto and the different chapters. And the chapter on women specifically, it combines women, children, and youth. Obviously, because you can't necessarily separate us from women, you can't separate them from children and youth. And you can't separate us from education. You can't separate us from health. So those are the issues that we have gone into details on how we're going to address them. But just to give you an example, or just a sample of what we have in the pertaining to women, we have proposed programs that will ensure that women are protected, social protection of women. We have proposed programs for health, right, that touch on women. Education, we have proposed educational programs. We have proposed grants for women who are in need. You talk about the informal sector. When we talk about the economy, we have looked comprehensively at the economy, and we have put in place plans of what we will do, what laws we will look at, we will change, we'll review and change so that they can cater for the needs of the women. So I think, Hella, in short, I could say that our manifesto is quite comprehensive in terms of what we're going to do for women
Yes, and we have a WhatsApp text here. It's a question. This question goes to Lillian. What strategies have you got lined up to support the youth of Mohoritani East and the youth in general as a possible MP candidate? And once more, all the best to the October elections. You are true inspiration to young women, from Ludo Stimela.
Wow, thank you, Lou. Very loaded question. Look, Mohoritani is an industrial cosmopolitan area. We do have a lot of businesses around, and as rightfully so to say, the private sector should be leading in the agenda of job creation. My interest is how do we capacitate the youth, especially around entrepreneurship. Previously, I'm a former consultant and senior lecturer of entrepreneurship at the IDM, Institute of Development Management. So my role basically was, how do I position our graduates for the world of business? And so these are the modalities that I'd like to bring forth for the youth of Mohoritani. Can we have a business clinic? I mean, right now, I've been hearing, banana that are uptaking mananeo. For instance, the other day I asked a young person in Mohoritani, also who dirisa my dear thing for something else, and it broke my heart, because clearly there's a need for capacity building in terms of how do young people use the money, the funding that they receive, to ensure that they actually are using it for the correct purposes. And so a business clinic is very highly needed. But like my colleagues have also alluded, issues of mental health, issues of crime, issues of just young people wanting to be very productive in the society. So how do we create platforms where young people can convene and think of ways that we can better ourselves up? My interest is, how do we have Ngwana Mohoritani going to represent the country at a UN conference? How do we have Ngwana Mohoritani at a pitch competition in Germany? How do we have the sports? Because that's another thing. Mohoritani, by the way, we are very good with our sports. We always have Bomatolapata, Boing. How do we export our talent to America, to Germany, and the rest of the world? So that's really my interest, with working with the relevant structures in Mohoritani and Makansalara, of course.
Alrighty, let's also hear another voice note here.
Hi everybody. Hey Batung, that lady in Singapore focus more the bread and butter. I'm very disappointed to hear her confidently say that on national radio. It's very disappointing. We cannot neglect climate change. It's not an issue of being an activist. You are existing in a world that you need to take care of for it to come back and give you something in future. Bread and butter on that manifesto, creating employment or creating opportunities. Create the hagai, so you need to take account and take responsibility. Who create the opportunity for banana babaling unemployed. You are taking care of it. Back to the drawing table, and they need to speak to climate change. Yes, the world is going green. What are you saying about that? What are you saying? Yes, policies need to be put in place. What policies are you suggesting? That is what we need to hear.
I think to her defense, she had said the manifesto is still not out and she doesn't have the details of the manifesto. I think that's what you said, Mamu Puti.
Yes, that's absolutely right. But let me take accountability on that issue. Kibuile from the get-go, I'm not here coming and claiming I know everything. Both of us, the viewer and Rona barreling on this side, we need to come together and say, okay, what are you passionate about? Mamu Puting may, from the top of her head, she can talk about women's issue, like advocate for women to come to leadership positions and so on and so forth. I can speak about that from the top of my head. I'm not a climate change activist. I want to learn. So, Meonting, our commenter, thank you so much for that. Please reach out to me. Have a sit down with me. Tell me more about climate change. what can we do to incorporate whatever advice you give me, but also based on what is going to be contained mo manifestong ya rona. So you're absolutely right. But we all have different areas that we specialize in. So please, caller, reach out to me. And then I can reach out to you. Let's have a conversation around climate change. Get more on it. And thank you so much.
And we continue with the conversation. +26739111066. You may still continue to engage with us. Call right here on the show. Send through your WhatsApp text or your WhatsApp voice note. Tuso?
I think the next question is going to be the one that you spoke about, that women in Botswana are economically disadvantaged. And I just want to find out, based on your parties going forward, share your thoughts on how this can be remedied. We are seeing young people graduating from the institutions you spoke about, IDM. They, especially women, they're being forced to do things they morally would feel they wouldn't want to go into. We have seen professionalization of sex work in this country simply because there are no job opportunities. What is your party's position on it? I'm going to start with you, Mama Puti.
Thank you so much for the question. So research has actually found that in countries with greater with greater inequality, just closing the gap in women's labor force participation can increase economic output by a staggering 35%. 35%. So in essence, what that means is that a dividend for a woman is a dividend for all. Now, to answer your question, how do I believe that we can deal with the abject poverty that so many women face, and how to effectively empower women? So as a charitable cause activist or humanitarian, whichever way you want to see it, I'm going to make a very controversial statement, and I speak from experience. Aid is not the solution. Let me say that again. Aid is not the solution. So aid and handouts, it's like I said, it's not the solution to help curb poverty. I advocate for three main things. First, we need to push for women to work outside the home. That is very critical. We need to instill a culture that we can push business. I love what Derena's talking about. Capacitate the youth and advocate that they must be employers, not necessarily employees. So the second one, intensify investment in women's human capital. That is very, very important. And the third one, obviously, it's also contained in our manifesto. We need to provide a unique financial assistance program exclusively for women, in order to give them easy access to loans for starting and growing their enterprises. For example, South Africa, I actually did a bit of consultancy work for a non-profit organization, and they were dealing with development microfinance, and they would give out loans. 99% of the people that actually came to get those loans in Basadi, and they were interest-free loans. So it was just a way of basically capacitating Basadi who similar to business without having the burden of knowing, oh my goodness, kana ke kolota batho ba, and every month I default interest and so on and so forth. So that worked very, very well. So those are some of the things that we advocate for as an organization, and those are some of my passion areas.
Much better. Then we'll go to Lillian.
Okay. From the perspective of the BCP. Ronarele BCP, our manifesto is very clear. We have a plan for women. For starters, we appreciate that there are certain things saying how to they will help to address the immediate problems. Rona, we appreciate the fact that when we do, and I will say when we do take over October, we will inherit an economy in a default, and one of those is unemployment. And unemployment affects women more than any other demographic. That is why we have proposed an unemployment benefit of 600 per month. That is not to pay people. We take the responsibility to say that it is your right to work. If you are able to work, you should be facilitated to work. So
let me cut you short. We've got a caller.
Hello, caller. Caller, hello.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me? You're speaking to Farida.
Yes, Farida.
Yes, I'm Farida from Farida's Love for Mother and Child Foundation. I'm the president and the founder of this organization, and we deal with issues of gender-based violence. But now I just caught your conversation to the end, but I could pick up that it talks about politics and empowering women. So I just want to talk about something through my own personal experience. Being this issue of empowering women, nowadays when I hear about this, coming from our leaders talking about empower women, let's fight against gender-based violence, I cry. You know why I cry? Because I have noticed that when we are put in the forefront to speak and advocate for issues, okay, I'm going to talk on general context because I deal with issues of gender-based violence. To speak about gender-based violence being put on the forefront, we make grand speeches. And you know what happens after we make those grand speeches? We close the book. So people like Farida who come to relevant authorities, being the government, as a young Botswana youth women, who people and leaders advocate that we are supposed to empower the youth of Botswana. And here I come with a grand initiative. My initiative is about saving lives. Knowing the experience and having seen firsthand what gender-based violence does to the life of a child, I have been knocking doors to the political leaders. I have been knocking doors on government, relevant authorities. Can I tell you what I've experienced? They hardly even respond, not even a letter. And I'm talking about relevant authorities. How is it hard for an organization that is fully documented to penetrate into the system? What about that ordinary person on the street who's suffering from gender-based violence? What about that young youth who has no voice or platform to speak?
Yes, Farida, maybe let's take this time to also give our leaders right here an opportunity to address your pointers. And while you're at it, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'd also wanted to say to her, probably if they are on their socials, I think you guys are open to engaging her on the sites and introduce them.
Yes,
to
definitely. We have her number here.
So very briefly, the GBV issue. I know it was one of our questions.
I wanted to finish this because it was also going to be incorporated into what
We've got
I was
about 4 minutes, so we need to close.
What I was saying is we have an unemployment grant of 600 pula. We have a means-tested grant for children, for the care of children. And why is this important and why is this critical for women, especially when we talk about gender-based violence? You will realize that in a lot of cases, young people get into relationships because they are economically dependent on men. And this will alleviate the need for a young woman. If you have a child, and you are unemployed, and you're getting 600 pula plus 300 pula per month, that's 900 pula. That is a starting point that can allow you to think that, no, I don't even need to be in this relationship because I have something coming in at the end of the month. But that's why I was saying these are programs that are very comprehensive. We have thought through, and we've also included things like the pension grant of 1,500 because we appreciate that women live longer than men, and it is usually the women who are going to be taking care of these people who are unemployed. So by increasing the pension grant to 1,500, you are facilitating women to be able to better take care of their families, and therefore you are removing the need to be financially and economically dependent on somebody else. These are not the only things that we are going to be doing. We are looking at a comprehensive review and restructuring of the economy to allow women to be able to participate meaningfully and productively in the economy.
Yes,
Okay.
but
Lillian.
maybe let me, before you could answer, Lillian, I wanted to address a question to her. Earlier on, my pillow mentioned something about aid not being a solution. And from one of the pointers that you mentioned about the 600 pula allowance for those that are unemployed, and you did mention, you emphasized that it's not like you're saying, "Banne kwa lapeng re tantse re ba thokomela." But as a youth, while I'm listening, I'm thinking, don't you think it goes back to what my pillow said, Abuya Khore, aid is not always the solution? Because what I'm hearing you say is giving me, it's painting a picture of you relationship ka ngwana. Once the baby is here, do you think the solution is going to be there, or you're just because we are trying to deal with a mindset here, right? We're trying to deal with a mindset that already tells itself that it's waiting for a job, but you're aiding it by financing it while it's comfortable in wherever it is. And the next thing that's going to happen in that conversation is 600 pula is not enough, let's go to 1,000 pula. So as a party, how are you going to make sure that this does not become yet another bomb that you are setting up for yourself as the government?
That question assumes that people are sitting at home and enjoying not working. I would put it that way. People are sitting at home, there are graduates. I'll just give you examples of people that I have taught. You have a graduate. Do you think 600 pula is going to keep them at home and not wanting to go and look for a proper job? The 600 pula is to facilitate this graduate who is sitting at home and not doing anything to be able to do the processes that in has a go interview about a bill. 600 pula is not going to be adequate to keep you at home, right? So we're not trying to create a welfare state. We're trying to say, I just said, when we take over, we appreciate that we are going to inherit a very sickly economy. So these are our plans for addressing the sickness that we will inherit when we get into. By no means, it doesn't mean that we're going to sustain that for the long term, because we say people have a right to work. If you are able, if you have the capacity to work, you should be working. We say the youth, we believe that, and it is in our manifesto, you should either be in school, you should be in training, or you should be in a job. So that's the premise from which we come. We're not saying that is going to be.
I just want to jump in on Farida.
The GBV issue, let's quickly close it.
Yeah, sure. Farida, my sister, I can hear it's heartbreaking. I can hear it in your voice how frustrated you are. Our First Lady is one person who's very passionate about addressing issues of GBV. And of course, as the BDP Women's Wing, one of the things that we've been advocating for is a one-stop shop for GBV victims. And of course, funding for women shelters and GBV-focused NGOs such as yourself. So please, Farida, I'd like to actually just connect with you to see how best we can assist you.
Mamputing, on the GBV issue, I want us to close it very quickly.
Yes, I'll be very quick, I promise. I heard it in Farida's voice. Either she's been a victim of gender-based violence or she deals with it a lot, maybe through her home, and unless or until you've walked a mile in somebody's shoes, you really can't feel the discomfort of being in that situation. I am not a gender-based violence victim, but I have tried to assist the neighbor who was going through that, and oftentimes, it's like 2 days later she was back at home. I'm like, we were at police until 2 a.m. I was fighting le mapodisi gore kante ke eng le sa tse mosadi o tsia a le bolella gore o betswa ke monna ko lapeng. 2 a.m. I'm here mo police station ke tlogetse ngwana ko lapeng ke na le ene. And they said to me, banna hela ba boela ko morago. When I go and do the research, why do they go back? It boils down to what? Finances, resources. So that's why I advocate maybe for much older people. Although we know the reality of what's going on in the country right now is that the graduates are sitting at home with batsadi and ditanda bala tsone tseo ke tsone tse di tlhokomelang the graduates. But these are some of the issues that we're going to deal with as a UDC government when we come into power, should Botswana give us that mandate. Now, to zoom in on the gender-based violence one, what is contained in our manifesto, or part of what's contained in our manifesto, is that because we take gender-based violence so seriously, we undertake to fortify the laws and policies that safeguard women's rights. At the same time, ensure that all victims of GBV, male, female, because it's a two-way street, it's not just women, contrary to popular belief, they've got access to the right kind of support and resources. Mosadi ikela na mo relationshiping because ke tla irang ga ke bereke, and maybe le banna because malatsing ano le bona they're also going through that kind of abuse. They're not working, and then basadi ba abuse resources.
This is why it is absolutely critical to ensure that we put as many women in parliament as possible, because that will be the place where they will make decisions. Very critical. The solution is on the ground. They will tell you that people who are creating these solutions don't know what they're talking about, don't know what they're doing. So if it's the women who are coming up with the policies, who are making the solutions, who are creating the programs, creating the environment, it'll be more effective.
Alrighty. We have a few voice notes. I'll just take these three. We're no longer taking any calls. We have run out of time, and maybe give you 30 seconds each right after all these voice notes to respond to them.
That lady, in fact, she made me recall the other time Minister Mokgeti aganela motion the former member of parliament wa Mahalapere Bokore. The matter of GBV is not really urgent. So ka belo ha thoko. Alo wana di tsela gore lo gogela batswana go go tsone lo gogela tshaba go go tsone le sang go tlusa batho botlhoko le ba eteledi pele dikgang tsa GBV ka bogote go ka ba gato ga di agent. Yeah.
Hello, YFM. Not that I utlwa, but like osibise na sibua fo ar na ga kare ga ke dumele gore giving grants ke solution. Giving grants is not a solution. That's why when I look go ne madi a chama batho ba re ba sa whether it's a loan or a grant. Na ke dumela gore the core issues tse le gore di ka addressiwa jaaka go fiwa lefatshe. Go fiwa lefatshe go to o re hela go to o itse re king every woman ka re bo mme gantsi mo Botswana ke bana ba ba ise ba nyalwe mme ba nna le bana ba ise ba nyalwe ke sa re it's ga ke buise pese se maswe ka gone, but the children are here, the mothers are here, ba homeless, aba fiwe first priority ka lefatshe bogolo e re o tshola ngwana go se patela e bo se tsona le lehatse kana bo lehiwa on behalf a go tlo go ta ngwana. Sa bobedi ke gore the police a ba le ke gore dinne friendly ko bomme kana bomme le bana ke ra gore gone mo hela ka bogone go thuse go tota dio tse le gore ha ona le masimo kgotsa sengwe tlogeletswe ke batsadi a o letelo go ipiwe se diba kgotsa something hela se le gore it's sustainable. Sengwe hela se se ta go sustainang. Okay, funding can come through, but how o le mme ke na le ngwana ga na la ha le setha ga na la ha ile mme o na le bana ba 3. We ba aila mo from one to point to another. So na ke dumela go na le dio tse dingwe tse lore they will bring about the bread and butter later on. Let's invest in things tse lo di ta go ta diragala a go dirwe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you get ready to this interview hella from the start? We are say on a national radio. I think these two ladies from BDP and UDC, they are not prepared for this interview because like they run in circles as compared to Nejula Chapet. She's very confident in what she's saying. West.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I don't know who but each one gets 30 seconds right now to close it off.
Good
Don't be long,
afternoon,
I'm gonna stop
everyone.
with you. Let me start with you,
Sumana.
Machapete. Yes.
Okay.
Any question that you want to pick? Yeah.
It is very unfortunate that we have very limited time. Ne re ka bo re tsene mo into details of every single chapter of our manifesto gore batswana ba lemoge gore ko BCP we have comprehensively looked at the society ya Botswana, and we have planned for every one of them. Economy, we have laid down plans of what we will do with the economy so that the economy can work for everybody. So, if you do want to get any more information on what we offer, can I share my numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
My number is 72 246 599. 72 246 599. If you want to understand further what we have for you, because come October, and I agree with somebody who said, the person who's saying the grants and we have never said the grants we're saying that it's a stopgap while
Okay.
we prepare, while we
All right. Now, thanks a lot,
we
Machapete.
rectify the economy.
Lily?
Yes, my last words really to say, you know what, at the end of the day, the ball is in our court. Majority of the population ke bomme, in this country, and rightfully so, that we should be seeing more and more of women coming up in parliament. So re a ditlhophong bomme a go re emeng ka dinao re tsenye bomme mo parlamenteng. Let's not forget how we started as a nation, how we built our first university. That is now why we are saying mindset change, to say government, the private sector, the development partners, the NGOs, the community as well. When we are talking about youth unemployment, GBV, everybody needs to contribute towards alleviating the situations. Thanks.
And Mai?
Thank you so much. Parting words, we need to have people with the right capacity to lead us. That's the bottom line. We need to have people with a proven track record. And I say this because when you have something to look back on, but Chepete o na le go boketekete a ira 1 2 and 3 maipelo ene o na le different organizations so netse na le go go tsone. It is very important to try to put people in positions that have a proven track record. Ya bohelo ke gore I am running for this position because this is an access in order for me to be able to get more work done. That's just the bottom line. So ka 2024 batswana ke kopa gore le re emenokeng ke le mema ipelo mo phuting go Gaborone Bonington North a gonne boitumelo hela and vote for change. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much for joining this discussion. Today we had women representatives from Umbrella for Democratic Change, Maipelo Maputing and Botswana Democratic Party, Lilian Moremi and Botswana Congress Party, Julia Chepete. We would like to thank you. Tomorrow, same time, same place, we will be talking to people who have observed elections across the continent. Join us tomorrow as we look into how elections should, the process of election should be conducted. Thank you very much. Good day.
Thank you for having us.
That was Why Vote Women Candidate Profiles. Tune in again next time for another look at the 2024 BW Elections Women Candidates. Why Vote 2024 is brought to you by YaronaFM in partnership with YTV. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Doing it for the culture. We're going in.
Okay, y'all, this is
YaronaFM.
la bakele mkati betitapila
tapila Matosha lele kwa kushe Handi twati niko kota sheta tapila Matosha lele kwa kushe Handi twati niko kota sheta tapila
Dijo tsa ditoro re pala mese na ton Bona faki di khamatla tshako ba tekon A ke re me re petshitse kubo makokomele E re fa di thao gante E gorogile metla baruti ba iterela Sikalaga Adamu mofufutso wa phara Kokota karapoiso bula khoro Potsa midantoma mosoroto Go tshabelwa ke go theoga dito Sa khathamela masisi umpona ke le zuma yo Ke nna yo le wa go mpona ke le talanyana Ye right ke ile la ngwana fao motsotsi cho
Shalikelo, Shalimose, come play with me. I'm a nice cool cat, but I'm with me. Go qua the road, when the mobile to Bono Chilanabo. No, second when mobile to Bono so when Abo. Mandumuzi, do Matama Kwama Billy Matatu, who walk as a pillow, or to Pali Kwamilantu. But I'm got Billy Manyango, what is a lion? Talanya Vitono Tempo, Kopina to. Kusigi la bakelem kadimeti tapila Kabulo elebati Kusigi la bakelem kadimeti tapila Matosha lele kwa kushe Handi twati niko kota sheta tapika Matosha lele kwa kushe Handi twati niko kota sheta tapika
Inhlisi kwalunye mbeza Amehla kwele kazi Bakhole bafana beqhekeza Bekombozele kasi Sibavele baphume iskelema Dina silele endlini Kokotala umjango Siwelela